So general sewing, when you're sewing, if I just tilt the machine, the fabric is going to go under this foot here. And if I pull the two threads, you'll see there's the top thread that comes down from the needle, that's the top, and the other thread is coming up from the spool here. And our fabric is going to sit between these two threads, and the two threads are going to be taken down by the needle. They will pick up the bobbin and it will go up and down. As it sews, it will close a nice seam in your fabric. So when you're sewing, you place your fabric to the machine, you put down the presser foot, and then you would start to sew. When I sew, I'm looking at the distance between the edge of the fabric and the toe of the foot. And my work, you see my left hand is kind of like a bridge, I always think. Or sometimes, you know, if you're going to play pool, you know, when you're playing pool, you kind of almost have your hand ready to hold your cue. You want to have this space here. And this fabric, if you watch, these fingers are always traveling with the fabric as it goes through. This hand is to line up and support the way the fabric goes in, but these fingers, look how curved they are to the back of the machine. And then when you get so far, you would bring your hand back and redraft, restart, as opposed to your hand continuing in your arm, which is not long enough to continue your bit of fabric at the back of the machine. When you stop, you lift up the presser foot and you pull your thread, and it should, if the needle has finished a stitch, come out nicely, and you see these two threads pulling out nicely to your bit of fabric. So that's just a standard row. What we want to do when we're sewing in general is anchor and secure the stitch at the beginning and the end, and we do this with a back tack stitch. So if I was to sew another, again start sewing, I would come forward two or three stitches, and then I'm going to press my reverse button. I can just show you the reverse button. The angle here. I'll move the machine over a touch so you can see. There we go. So I've got a reverse button here. So I'm going to press my reverse button, and the machine goes backwards over those stitches I've sewn, and then I start sewing a whole length again, all the way down to the bottom. When I get to the end, almost and no more, maybe one stitch to go, I would put my reverse down again, 2 or 3 stitches right on top. That's the skill, to try and get them right on top. Lift and pull my work to the side. So it's important when you're sewing garments that you're having this nice back tack beginning and finish. And look, my start, I wasn't quite on it, do you see? But when I got to the end, my back tack, look, it's nice on top of there. That's what we're trying to get when you're doing your back tack. So you want to fill a sampler with some rows of stitching. You obviously, on your machine, you want to look at, this machine's different to yours, but think about the length of your stitch, and then you might want to choose some stitches and do some zigzags, and maybe check through some of the specialty stitches you have on the machine, making sure you use your instruction book so that when you select your stitch, you know how to turn this dial. And I actually have a dial here as well on this machine. And make sure if you are turning these dials that your needle, this needle is in the up position, because when you start twisting these dials, the needle can go left to right, and it can, if it's down in the machine, it can snap because it gets stuck. Okay, so there's your foot there, and the markings I'll talk about when we do seam allowances. The 15 is when the needle is in the middle position. This indicates 15 millimeters, 20 millimeters, or 2 centimeters.